Fletcher.
I am Michael Fletcher's Twins at Law. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something that I think most people have no idea about, and it is just how screwed people are in the justice system.
You mean like if you really need a lawyer?
If you really need a lawyer, for 99.9% of people, you just aren't going to get one.
This is about perception versus reality. When we talk a little bit about ceilings and floors, it's like Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Commanders, and he gets credit because he doesn't call them Redskins anymore, and so he should get an award.
I know it took him 4 years.
When you write a check for $1.6 million, there's some very, 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 very serious conduct that someone could back up. That never got taken to a grand jury. Never happened. No one knew anything about it until this whole issue came up.
Talking about Daniel Snyder settling his sexual assault case against a stewardess.
Right. Or employee.
Steward of a private jet, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was trying to fondle, and he did fondle a woman, and it was to such a bad degree that she got $1.6 million, ton of money. We talk about this race norming idea. Race norming is essentially when the NFL said, we have to pay out a bunch of money to these players because we really did some pretty horrible shit by letting them get brain damage, and we drugged them up and all of those things. And what happened is that in order to get the deal done, they came up with a compromise that we'll pay black players less. Literally said we'll pay them less. And the reason for that is because they were dumber to start with, and the brains didn't work as well as white players did to begin with. This shit literally happened.
What's great about that, by the way, is that for that to pass muster, they've skipped the nature versus nurture. They literally said that genetically,
right,
African Americans' brains function at a lower level than Caucasians. Now, putting aside with Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Uncle Tom, his brain does function less than white people, than everybody. Right. But the premise,
his brain is right on tune.
Yeah, but the premise that a person that you could there's a distinguishable difference or any difference between people based upon race relative to brain function is absurd.
Could you do a blood transfusion from a black man to a white man, brown man?
You shouldn't. Though.
How about heart transplant?
Lung transplant? You should not.
But this group of people came up with a revolutionary idea that black brains are literally worse and less than white brains. That's all the fuck they said.
That's great.
And because that is the truth. Now, fuck what science says, and we know you can do transfusions and heart transplants, except on All in the Family. Remember that one?
But think about though that someone came up with this idea. Hey, you know what we should do? We should make an argument that's based upon science from the 1650s.
How about this? The accepted medical science cannot be disputed. Black people, brown people, white people, we all got the same.
Oh yeah,
shit.
but that's today. This point has been so well satisfied that there's nothing to discuss, and yet you had a group of lawyers being paid millions of dollars in fees.
Let's walk through the groups.
But wait. Millions of dollars, lawyers being paid millions and millions of dollars in fees, which the operating premise was African Americans' brain function is significantly lower than the brain function of Caucasians at inception.
Right. This
is what passed as legal representation, and this shit passed like 10 years ago.
Back to the ceiling and the floor. These people, these players, many of them who literally are suffering from horrible amounts of brain damage, dementia, stuff caused by playing football in a manner that the NFL knew was harming them. They supposedly have these fantastic lawyers. And in order to settle this case, what happens is there's draft resolutions, there's draft versions, draft 1, draft 2, kind of like the Roe v. Wade shit that was leaked. That happens from law office to law office, from the plaintiffs to the defendants. To each plaintiff's lawyer gets one, each plaintiff's accountant gets one, because you have to manipulate the numbers to get there. In every one of these drafts, every version, that portion was sent to multiple people who were representing African-American players, and these lawyers said, that's a good idea.
Well, and not to discount your approach, but the way it really happened is, because I've done class actions, it's plaintiff's lawyers sitting there with defense lawyers saying, how much money do we have? Okay, we're getting our 25%, right? So we're taking that off. How do we make this other number work? That was the part where in that room with plaintiffs lawyers representing the players, defense lawyers, and to their credit, they're just trying to get the lowest number. But the plaintiffs lawyers are the ones who signed off on, we're just going to pay black people less. That number was decided. Then they came up with the drafts.
No, that number
Sure, that's how.
That number was negotiated. So somebody threw out how much dumber is the black guy?
I don't even know if they just negotiated. It was decided.
No,
we get our 20%.
You have to get to the percentage that there's a formula that they were using, that they use to compare black brains to white brains. And so that was negotiated.
Phrenology is there where they like the bumps in your heads. Yes. They said, well, if we follow the phrenology scam, I was like, this sounds like some crazy shit. Oh, it's phrenology. This is so crazy. And these are the people running the NFL today. They sat in a room and said, black people are genetically more stupid or stupider than white people. And people in the room, white people and black people in the room agreed.
Yes.
Black people are genetically different than white people. This is the fucking NFL. The NFL is saying that works for us.
When you're a lawyer, you have an obligation to look out for the best interests of your client. You have a fiduciary duty to him or her. You can't screw him. You can't say, oh, I want to make some more money here, so I'm going to ask this person to increase my attorney's fees. You have to negotiate everything. You have to do it for the best interests of your client. 80% of the NFL is African-American, without question. So 80% of these plaintiffs were African-American. So you have a group of lawyers whose obligation, their legal duty, their professional duty is to look out for the best interest of their clients. Their clients were 80% African-American, and these same attorneys walked in the room and said, my African-American clients should not get the same amount as my white clients.
Now, technically, in their defense, they based that on science.
They did base it on science, as you said, phrenology.
Who were the lawyers representing the Players Association? We're going to find this, and one of our next episodes, I'm going to get this list and we're going to read it. These lawyers made tens of millions of dollars off arguing that black people are genetically dumber than white people.
This goes back to our premise that
Clarence Thomas is outraged by this.
Over and over and over again. The fix is in. The fix is in.
But this,
when you have no.
This is more than the fix is in. This is fucked up. This isn't a fix. This isn't
an acceptance that the fix is in, because every black person who reviewed it said that's about right. Every white person said, mm-hmm. Every Catholic, every Jewish, every agnostic, every single person from every bookkeeping firm, every lawyer, every associate who read it, every person who typed this up knew it was in there. It was a major part of the settlement, and every single person said, yes, that is correct.
I think it was a strike. I guarantee the deal could not have been done without it. And so not only did they agree to it because without this arguing that African-American brains are less robust than Caucasian brains, unless you had the lawyers, the accountants, the economists on both sides saying it wouldn't have happened. And what's extraordinary about that is, I mean, this isn't even Hitler shit. Maybe it is Hitler. It is.
This is Joseph Mengele shit.
Yeah, that they're fundamentally different. Let's show it.
This is no different than what they did with Jewish or Romanian or Armenian or
think about this.
people in Germany.
And yet,
you literally are working on a premise that this brain is different than that brain.
And they not only worked on that premise, that was their operating premise. And yet we have the NFL claiming that there's some level of moral leadership. But what's crazy about this and what got us on this is this idea, and one thing we want to talk about in this podcast is, man, regular people are just fucked. You're screwed. You can't get a lawyer.
How many times do you think the same principle has been used in the real world? Probably over and over in every settlement.
What, race norming?
This isn't new. Wasn't only done. Somebody had that principle. Someone came up with that philosophy. I guarantee it's not DeMorris Smith. He ain't smart enough.
I guarantee you this, though. No one's done it in such a blatant way without anyone saying anything.
We just had a motherfucker say that women can't get an abortion if you fucking rape. So don't say what people won't do.
Well, but
literally, this is.
But there are people. There are people
that was put into action, and they put it in black and fucking white.
But if you put it in the context of Roe v. Wade, there are people who morally believe that abortion is wrong. In the context of race norming, there's no person who, at least since this is a scientific issue, who could say that there's any predicate upon that.
Let me put you to the test on that. You tell me the name of a single motherfucker who said, don't do that.
Well, no, I agree with you. I just think it's appalling. But the issue really is, it's stunning and appalling, and it's just incredible. And I'm going to get these. I'm going to get the law firms. That's what I'll fucking do. Next, what we're going to do a thing, and I'm going to download their website, and we're going to go through the lawyers and say, this person approved for it, this person approved, and we'll make a list of them, and it'll be great. Because then what we can do is we'll call them. Hey, we're just wondering about, hey, are black people still dumber than white people, or has that changed? Because that's what they approved. That's what they made their money on.
Is all 32 NFL owners had to sign off on it. All 32 NFL owners. All
that's crazy.
Accountants.
You think Bob Kraft did?
Bob was busy. Bob was busy.
What's sad about this is, and it is all fucked up.
It's sad. It's just a fact. Facts aren't happy or sad. They're just facts. The facts are that these employers sat down and said, my employees are not the same. And I'm going to apply science, logic, morality.
That's my thing, though. This is beyond that. This is people sitting in a room literally saying, I think we can kill all the Jews because they're different. This is so structurally different. For you to reach this premise, you are beyond science. This is just a level of hatred.
This is a pet peeve of mine. When Hitler and his crew sat down and said we can kill Jews, he also said we can kill gay people, and we can kill handicapped people, and we can kill the gypsies. It's all fucking racism.
No,
it's all supremacy. It by definition is when I say you are good enough to be in my world, that is white supremacy.
People, when they make that comparison, they don't understand the literal level of evilness involved in the Holocaust.
Incomparable. But
you just did. You just said first they came against trade unions. No. Trade unions were just in the way.
Same seed.
It's not. These are you're what they did to Jewish people. The extent to what it's not the same thing. You should read Operation Paperclip. Right. Fucking jaw dropping. Right. The level of it's extraordinary.
Elie Wiesel Knight. I mean, I've read every.
But every bit of racism. When people compare trade unionists and socialists being killed with what this was about, wanting to destroy. It was just hatred.
But it's been going on forever. But the first thing to start it they didn't build a concentration camp first. They made it.
So they did. They just put multiple people in it.
No. To start with, they had to come up with the philosophy. The philosophy had to be these people are different. These people are not people.
Yeah,
and then it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. None of it fucking started with these are really good people. These are really fine people.
I'm not saying that they did,
and
but all I'm saying is
when race norming, when someone sits there and says, my kid is less than your kid because he has black blood in him or African blood in him or Jewish blood or Caribbean blood or Hispanic blood, that's all starts from the same goddamn fucking seed.
But and that seed isn't because he's a trade unionist. What you've said is they treated people differently because they believed genetically they were different. That was in 1927.
That's what the fuck they're saying here. They're saying genetically black brains are different.
Correct.
That's the same shit.
That's exactly what I said, and you said that didn't start with Jews. It started with trade unionists, and that was wrong. When you're talking about people being genetically different, it's at a different level. No. The Holocaust was at a different level. Race norming is at a well, it just is.
I'm not Jewish. I'm not going to argue the merits of the whole. It was God.
It's not a Jewish thing.
I believe the hatred starts at the same goddamn place.
There's hatred, and then there's hatred, and then they're saying, and then there's hatred, and then they're saying scientifically they are different. They're fundamentally different. What the Holocaust was about was believing Jews are fundamentally different. And when you equate them with trade unionists, it's not the fucking same.
I'm not equating shit with it. I'm telling you this.
But when people say it started with a trade unionist.
White supremacy, that's different. Over anybody started with the same goddamn fucking seed that anything horrible starts with. The Hutsis and the Tutsis in Rwanda started with the same horrible, rotten, evil stuff. And it's certainly not to the same devastating effect. But when you say a black man whose brain is different than a white man, I don't see a fucking bit of difference between the two.
Well, you're the one that drew the distinction, and you're arguing my point now, which is what I'm saying, which is misunderstood. Which is what I'm saying is race norm. Right. The argument that the NFL accepted was exactly the same as Joseph Mengele. And that is African-American brains are structurally different than Caucasians. Joseph Mengele said the same thing about Jewish people. That is extraordinary. That's other world shit. That is what's so crazy about this is the NFL and DeMaurice Smith adopted a Joseph Mengele approach to black people for money for hundreds of millions of dollars, and no one said shit. It's extraordinary.
Evil cannot exist on its own. It needs to be supplied. What DeMaurice Smith did, when you walk in, you're taking away money from fucking black players who can't feed themselves and are shitting on themselves because of dementia caused from the thing. When you take away their money because they're black, that's about as fucking evil as you can get.
Yeah, but again, there's evil, and then there's structural evil, and again, what DeMaurice Smith really did was sit there in a room while someone pulled out fucking a Joseph Mengele playbook and said, hey, turns out black people are different than white people, so we can treat them fundamentally different. Agreed. That's a gigantic, extraordinary event. And all I'm saying is, fast forward, this motherfucker's office is in Manhattan. And what's so amazing about this issue is that in the context of people's regular lives, that if the NFL players their lawyers are being paid hundreds of millions of dollars, if they're selling out their fucking clients based on a premise of Joseph Mengele came up, what do real people do? What do actual people in this world do? You can't get a lawyer. That's what's so extraordinary. That's one of the reasons we did this podcast is I wanted people to say, listen, the justice system is not available to you. Right. It's the California Supreme Court that just ruled that if you were a victim of domestic violence or alleged against you, you don't get your kids back. If you're a regular person, you cannot hire a competent lawyer to represent you in a family law case, in a criminal case, in a civil case. And that's what people don't understand is, man, dude.
It's the U.S. Supreme Court that just ruled that.
Oh, U.S. Supreme shit.
But it all goes back to the premise, one of the premises that we started off with. The fix is in. The fix is in. And literally, if you, these examples of from the NFL, they have lawyers. The fact that you get a lawyer doesn't necessarily mean a fucking thing. You have to find a lawyer who has some backbone, who has some integrity, who's willing. But this one, it's not even that. Wait. And you know this is fucking true. I guarantee you, 50% of these lawyers never read the fucking thing. Guarantee you.
I don't think that's. I don't because what happened in this.
Nobody could read. Hey, here's our plan. Mein Kampf. Here's this. You can't read that shit.
It's the exact. We've talked about this before, and we didn't even get into the Joseph Mengele stuff until you stumble on. You're like, holy shit.
Same shit.
But we didn't even think about it until now. People, but it's back to regular people. What do you do? My son was accused of, was drunk and ran a red light, and they're trying to send him to prison forever. What do I do? Well, you hire a lawyer. Oh, that's all I got to do is hire a lawyer? Yeah. You have $100,000? I don't have $100,000. Yeah. It's whatever it is, that even doesn't mean you're going to get a real lawyer. And what people don't understand, and that's why
I can't get a lawyer who will read off their questions to Amber Heard.
But even that's an improvement. What people don't understand, and one thing we want to emphasize so much on here is, man, dude, this exploiting of regular people in the justice system, in the family law courts, in the criminal, it's just standard.
And
it's standard.
The only thing that can battle it is the fucking knowledge. You have to get people on board. It's like the fix is in.
Right.
You have to. And when people start talking about race norming, well, what's wrong with that? It's like, I don't know. It's exactly the plan that's been used to wipe out people throughout the course of this world. It's not the fucking same, but it's the same premise. It's the same start.
Well, and what else?
When the fix is in, when you have people, lawyers who are taking millions of dollars of your money to walk in and negotiate that you get less because your black brain is different than a white brain, the fix is in.
But it's
and this is how you know the fix is in. I'm going to say it one more fucking time. Brainwashing works. The people involved think they're doing exactly what they're supposed to. They're following the orders like Clarence Thomas. You know how we know the fix was fucking in? Tell me the name of someone who said that's not right.
And that's the crazy, but it's like you say, it's the ceiling thing. And we just fell into this race norming concept, but it's so extraordinary. But it also fits into what we've been saying, and that is the Constitution only applies if you have someone who demands that it applies. If you have lawyers who are afraid to say, I'm not going to take that deal because it would be basically ratifying Joseph Mengele's approach to the world, if you don't have a lawyer who's going to say that, then it doesn't fucking apply. And in the everyday context, in the criminal law context, it's stunning to see the number of criminal cases that are pled to 20 years. It's a first-time offense. It's a second-time offense. We talk about this. It's not the Innocence Project's great when they save people from death row. That's great. You know what's worse are the number of 18-year-olds being sentenced to 10 fucking years on a crime that they didn't commit. That's extraordinary. And there's no one here doing anything about it. And there's no one that understands the breadth of what it means.
It's the fixes in on every level and every application. When you sit there and you say the NFL's lawyers who openly worked against the best interests or the interests of their African-American clients got paid, got rewarded, never got fired, never got hauled in. It goes down to the little boy or the little girl who gets 10 years in prison, and the lawyer says, that's a good deal because you could get 50. The fix is in.
By the way, happens every day.
Every day.
People have to see what is going on. And it's family law court where you are just, again, I'm back to the study where 200 families had $100,000 of net worth, and when every single one of them, when they left the process, had negative net worth. In family law court, where there's not a trial.
We'll expose.
No, but it's just where there's not a trial. And what people don't understand, and so much of this gets portrayed as race, but the reality is that's just what the corporations, that's what the judges, that's what the lawyers want you to think, that it's a race thing. There's plenty of white people going to prison. There's plenty of white people getting gutted. And it's because we accept these premises, which is, oh, well, you have access to the legal system. Here's what people don't know. In America today, a judge can sit there. You're let's say it's an African-American client. The judge can say, Mr. Smith, I hate fucking niggers, and I'm going to make sure that your black ass is thrown in prison. There is nothing that person can do, his family could do, his lawyers could. There is no remedy that prevents that judge from sending that fucking nigger to prison. Nothing. People don't understand this.
Say they could file an emergency writ and ask the Court of Appeals to stop that.
They may. Yeah, I've tried cases. I've won hundreds of millions of dollars trying cases. It takes me a week to do a writ. A week. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do.
Here's a reality now, real life story. I've sat in the courtroom and watched and have heard judges, classic line, "You trying to Jew me down?" And the young man said, "Excuse me?" And the judge said, "You're trying to Jew me down." And literally, myself and these two lawyers looked at each other, and the judge continued to do it. Go to the presiding judge, tell the presiding judge, judge just blah, blah, blah. Not a fucking thing happened to him.
The problem with the justice system, it's not the police, it's not the lawyers, it's the judges. The judges are the ones who sit there. The judges are the one who could say, gee, Officer Smith, this is the 90th person you brought. This is of the 100 people you brought in, 95 have been African-American and Latino. The problem is it's multifaceted, but when judges don't hold people accountable, i.e. the police or the prosecutors, it's broken. They're the ones. Do you understand? People don't know this, is you can't take your iPhone into court and tape record your criminal trial But you could pay a court reporter who would get you that transcript. And, well, first of all, I need $800.
Except for the portions that the judge asked to be stricken.
Happens every day.
The
greatest thing.
The idea that we can't trust cops, and I disagree. It's not just the judges. It's the cops.
Yes.
It's the judges. It's the NFL owners. It's DeMaurice Smith who says black brains are different. This comes down from the top. The reality is that all of this stuff is inputted into your brain daily over and over and over and over and over to the point that nobody makes any argument about it. No one disagrees. We have cops who we say, you're dangerous. We put body cams on them so that we can see when you're shooting the people. And you can come up with the reasons you sat on the man's neck for 9.5 minutes or whatever it was. But with judges, you don't get to see what they do.
You know, I'm not making excuses for cops, but cops are at some level under stress. Judges violate more constitutional rights in a week than a cop does in a year, and we have no way to track it. It's extraordinary. A courtroom is an open. By law, it has to be accessible to the public.
By the Constitution,
it only applies if you apply it. Police have to wear a body cam into a person's house, which is not available for videotaping. But judges can sit there and say, "I hate niggers, and I'm sending niggers to prison." And no one could say anything. And you wouldn't have a way to relay that, even if you did, if they said it. And yet that's okay. It's okay.
Not okay, but it's
in the American justice system. It's not only okay. It's discretion is what they say. The judges, if a judge were to say, Matthew explained this to me the other day. If a judge were to say, "I hate niggers," and then they convicted an African American of a crime he did not do, the Court of Appeals could then say, yes, he may have said, "I hate niggers," but how did that impact the evidence? And based upon that, they would allow the judge who hates niggers, who allowed the conviction against the little nigger, they would allow that conviction to stand. True?
True.
The fix is in. That was depressing.
That's what. All right.
We'll see you guys next week. We'll have some fun next week.